So somebody commented in support of young Pharaoh. Now I know I'm taking a huge risk by making these videos because of YouTube's bias and Google's bias towards white Americans and true conservatives. However, if you go to this gentleman's YouTube channel and you look at the channels he's subscribed to, you will see that he is a conservative. He subscribes to the Blaze News and all this other stuff. And I think what's important to understand is, as I said, young Pharaoh was scheduled to speak at CPAC, the Conservative Political Action Committee, which is absurd because people like Patrick Buchanan, Ann Coulter, Michelle Malkin, even people like Milo Yiannopoulos are not allowed, and I don't consider Milo Yiannopoulos to be a conservative, but the other three are. And Milo is still more of a conservative than this. What I've noticed, I've followed conservatism. Now, I'm not technically a conservative, even though I'm socially conservative. I'm not technically a conservative. I'm a progressive, as I said. But progressivism is basically using science to guide policy. That's what progressivism is. You can be socially conservative, and in fact, in many ways, science promotes a socially conservative outlook with things in regards to homosexuality, cancer risk, medical stuff. It promotes alcoholism. It promotes a socially conservative outlook to be enforced by policy, at least in an educational sense, to warn people about the harms and dangers of homosexuality and the dangers of overconsumption of alcohol and the dangers of drug use. So science really does support a socially conservative outlook. It genuinely does, at least in the sense of public health policy, okay? But more importantly, what you'll notice with so-called black conservatives, most of them are not genuine conservatives. Many of them are Christian, or were Christian, but now you're starting to see this rebirth of this paganism, like, I don't even know if you'd call it paganism, but like the Black Hebrew Israelite movement and the Islamic type thing, and now some more of the voodoo and things like that are creeping in, which is different than in the 1960s, but not completely different, because it's still the same offshoot out in outer space type of space cadet kookiness that was promoted by a lot of people such as the Nation of Islam and other similar groups that promote this idea that say the white race is, some kind of mad scientist creation that that some mad scientist created white people out of apes and all this other stuff. The other thing is, a lot of people like to promote the myth that the reason that for the European people and white people, the reason that our ancestors dominated the world is because we were a majority of people, which is what the commenter had said. That's not true. White people have been the minority in the world for the whole time. We are the minority. East Asians and blacks and other non-whites, Southeast Asians, etc., have always been the majority. That's the truth. Now you have to understand, Caucasoid people still aren't the majority of people, but Caucasoid people, which make up some East Indians, Persians, Arabs, various types of white people from Europe, Slavs, Caucasus people from the Caucasus regions, things like that, Turkic people even. Caucasoid people are not white people. White people denotes people that are basically, some say Slavs. I agree that Slavs are, but white people are generally speaking, basically Celtic, Germanic, Nordic, Scandinavian type people, as well as some consider, like I said, some consider Slavs and Ashkenazi Jews to be white. Now, so Caucasoid does not translate to white. So white people have been the minority in the world population forever. We're not necessarily the minority, but we've been a minority in the world population for a very long time. Australoids outnumber Caucasoids in reality, if you really look at it, depending on, if you look at Southeast Asia and say the inhabitants of India, many people have more Australoid features than necessarily Caucasoid features. And white people are a fraction of the overall Caucasoid subgrouping of the human species. The other thing is, I want people to seriously go to Young Pharaoh's channel and go to the Commenters channel and go to Candace Owens' channel and go to these various channels and see what they're promoting. They're promoting paranoia and the QAnon conspiracy. And that was a big problem, is a lot of people have this idea because they trucked out this kooky horn-wearing lunatic and said that he was the Q shaman and QAnon and da-da-da-da. If you look at the online presence of QAnon, it is majority minority. There are a lot of African Americans that promote QAnon. Michael the Black Man, who was a cult leader that started Blacks for Trump. Rachel Maddow did an excellent piece on him. And also, he was a member of the Yahweh Ben Yahweh murder cult. And that's the truth, and that's unavoidable, but yet Blacks for Trump was at the forefront. And you will notice a lot of these black supremacists were Trump supporters and are QAnon promoters now. And Trump did their bidding with the First Step Act and with a lot of things that helped to coddle criminals, of which the majority of these criminals happen to be members of the African American persuasion. Many people like to promote the idea that I promote racism. I do not. I believe in all power to all people, like Frederick Hampton said, like the Black Panther Party said. I do not support subduing or infringing upon anyone's rights. However, when people like Young Pharaoh say that, white people need to be eradicated, that's a little bit of an aggressive thing to say, Or when the Black Hebrew Israelites say they're going to put all white men to the sword and rape white women, that's a little bit of an aggressive thing to say, okay? Now, as many people probably know, I support the concept of La Raza Cosmica, as professed by Jose Vasconcelos in the book The Cosmic Race. In fact, what's funny is the Hispanic group, La Raza, got its name from the book La Raza Cosmica, although the ideology of La Raza is quite different from that which was promoted by Jose Vasconcelos, in the sense that La Raza is a Chicano supremacist group. And that's the truth, okay? So my point is that people need to learn to understand the reality of what's going on. They need to understand that black conservatives are not conservatives. I don't even know what the hell a conservative is anymore, if you want to know the truth. If somebody could please tell me what they view a conservative to be. Is Candace Owens a conservative? Somebody that wanted to let all criminals out of prison and give murderers the right to vote because they supposedly would vote Republican if they were given the right to vote, give convicted felons the right to vote, and to let everybody out of prison? that was in prison for drug crimes when we know damn well that the reason people are put in prison for drug crimes was because the Biden crime bill, it was a way to put people in prison when you couldn't prove the violent crimes we all knew they were committing. That's why we have, people in prison for drug crimes. It's not because we don't like people smoking marijuana. It's because, generally speaking, people smoking marijuana are engaging, especially in an inner city environment, are engaging in some kind of violent crime, burglary, murder, rape, arson, etc. So it's a lot easier to prove possession or possession with intent to sell when you catch somebody with oodles of a substance than it is to prove that they did these other things, even though you know they did them. And that's the whole reason we were so, under the Biden crime bill, the United States was so stiff on those things. And I think that's a necessity. I wish Biden would bring it back, but Biden isn't Biden anymore. That's the problem. But I would strongly encourage people to please go to the links and actually see what these whack jobs promote. And if you promote these things and you consider yourself a conservative, that just goes even further for me to encourage people like me to join the Democratic Party and bring the Democratic Party back to a center-right party and bring it back, because I see it far more likely that we can resuscitate the Democratic Party than we can fix whatever the hell happened to the Republican Party. The Republican Party is dead in the water as far as I'm concerned. And that's all for this video.